Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's September 18th, 2019. I'm out in the greenhouse and I thought I'd give you an update on what we've been doing over the last couple of days. Well, we've been building the partition wall that separates the two halves or two sections, two zones of this greenhouse. Now this greenhouse was originally constructed in 1970. It's a aluminum and glass structure manufactured by Lord and Burnham. And so far I absolutely love this, the materials and all that I've been working with here. And what I've been doing is building this partition and the south partition, the south end wall as well. So the building is 69 feet long, lengthwise going in this direction, and the north face of it attaches to the work area at that end of the building, of the greenhouse. And the partition separates it about 29 feet from the north wall, and 39 feet is the end wall going south. So this is oriented north and south along the long axis. The glazing bars that I installed, and there'll be some GoPro footage showing me some time lapse putting up these glazing bars. And here's an example of one of the glazing bars. And I'll do is I'll take a photograph and insert this in the video, but the glazing bars are made out of aluminum. They're an I-beam type structure with a third protrusion where, oh geez, Timmy. There's it's an I-beam with a third extruded surface with an invagination in that fifth extruded surface, and that's where the screws attach to hold either glass in place or any other glazing material. So I'll take a photograph of this as a cross section so you can get an idea of what it looks like. It's kind of hard to tell by looking at it this way. One interesting feature about this I-beam system, there's a slot, and it's a T-slot, so it isn't just a router bit that goes straight in. It's it extends both sides, and that allows for a T-bolt. So in other words, it actually looks like a T, and you insert the T-bolt through the slot, and then when you snug up the nut on the bolt, the bolt actually turns sideways and locks diagonally inside of this channel. It's a really nice system, very strong. Both tensile strength and shear strength on this, and certainly compressive forces. It's quite a strong structure utilizing this system. Hopefully not too far from now I'll get the glass up on these areas so that we can see through the area. But that'll get modified in the future as well. Another thing I've been working on is I took Bumblebee, the mini excavator, out back, where I stored a lot of the materials for the greenhouse, things that I just didn't have enough room in the workshop for. And I dug out the doors. These doors have really taken quite a beating over the years. And there's dents and dings, and somebody had tried breaking in the main entrance door in the past when it was constructed at the educational facility. And there's a couple of things that I wanted to share with you that, so two things. One of the things that I'd like to share with you is an application that I use all the time that is multi-platform. In other words, if you have an iPhone or an Android phone, or if you have a Mac or a Windows PC, whatever platform you're using, Evernote is a really good application for keeping track of things, whether it's your receipts or notes or web pages or recipes or whatever the heck it is, or quotes or emails or audio notes. Any of those things can be kept, and this is a free app, Evernote. I've been using it for years. I use the paid premium subscription, and that's worked out for me a great deal. So one thing I neglected to do when I took down this greenhouse, I had several different thoughts. And one of the faults of the greenhouse that I could see was gaining entrance and exit from the greenhouse. And so I didn't make a note about it. So one of the things I would have changed, instead of having a 38-inch entrance door both in the central partition and at the end wall, I would have made them like French doors, something that's just much easier to open up so that I could get big objects in and out, whether it's a huge bag of soil, easily move a wheelbarrow through, or a cart through the system, or large planters, all of those things. And I should have used Evernote. And Evernote is so easy. Like today I used it a few times. I know I have to order some Tapcon screws, and I forget to, when I get back to the house, I forget to write it down because I start making lunch or whatever. And so what I'll do is I just pulled out my Evernote, started a new note in there, and just made a note of the size and the number of Tapcon screws that I need for resecuring all of the boards that you see around the inside of the lower knee wall. Another thing that I ended up doing with Evernote is I ended up ordering hinges and doorknobs. I could actually measure them while I was out here, made a note for it. Then when I got it inside, then I searched for the best prices for it and ordered it from inside. So Evernote has really been a really good application. When I'm taking dimensions, I'll forget them even when I go back to the workshop, especially if I'm taking multiple dimensions and cutting out different patterns and trying to put where a receptacle box will be and all. I'll take all the measurements and I can actually draw, make a drawing in Evernote, and then pull it up later on. If something interferes, the next day I can use that note to create that template or the whatever it is that I'm hoping to build. So that's my thing on Evernote. The other thing I wanted to mention, besides me needing to reuse these aluminum doors, one of the things that they did at the facility that I disassembled this greenhouse from, and now this is an educational facility where it's a technology educational programs where they do welding, auto mechanics, machine shops, all of those sorts of things. And I was unpleasantly surprised when I came through and I could see that they used standard steel products mounted to aluminum products. These are all things that were done after the original greenhouse was put up. So on one of the doors, the main entrance door, they used steel and screwed steel screws to the aluminum. And you have galvanic corrosion that happens when you have two different types of metal in a somewhat corrosive environment. Then you start to get damage to both metals, and it'll be difficult. I snapped 3 of my screwdrivers trying to get the hinges off of the other door so that I could clean it up and get things ready. So I ended up using torches and a lubricant to try and break down the corrosive agents, wire brushing, heat, back and forth. So it took me a whole day to break down some of those things. Throughout this whole building, wherever they used iron products, they ended up creating corrosive injury. And so when you tried to remove the bolts, they're just cut off. So I'd have to drill those out and retap holes for wherever those units were put in. So galvanic corrosion is a real thing. If with like an aluminum greenhouse like this, all of the original hardware were aluminum nuts and bolts. Now they can snap real easy if you're applying a little too much torque when you're reassembling it. And I did break quite a few of them. And some sizes, they're really cost prohibitive. For some bolts, they're charging over $6 a piece. So I ended up ordering stainless steel bolts, and you would see, if you saw where I anchored the sill plates to the concrete, I forgot to mention that I used those anchors, those wedge anchors, 6-inch wedge anchors, 5/8 inch thick, are driven down through the aluminum, making some contact with the aluminum, but stainless steel has less of a corrosive relationship with aluminum. The same thing with a zinc coated or galvanized bolts and nuts. So that's one thing to be aware of whenever you're mixing metals. If you're in a corrosive environment, and we're in upstate New York where salt's used on the roads and all, and we have condensation appearing all the time, and certainly in a greenhouse there will be high humidity, there will be condensation as well. So that's an ideal environment for the electrons to move back and forth between the two different metals and create a very corrosive and challenging maintenance project in the future. So those are just two things that I wanted to mention. And I think that's it. I think I'll end the video here, and there'll be some GoPro footage of me putting up these glazing walls. There might be a little bit with working with the doors, going up back, getting them and all. And what I'll do, since it's a nice sunny day and all, I'll get the GoPro Karma up and fly it around the building so you can at least see how it looks at this point as well. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. If you thought this video was of value, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and by all means, folks, have a great day. Bye-bye now.